and welcome to episode 4 of Suffragette City Radio with me, Sobering Maid.
And me, DJ Lipper.
So we've got a couple of things to talk about today. We're going to be talking about sexism in the music industry, the gender prison in the home, and just let you know what's coming up and what we've been up to. So what have you been up to since we last met?
I've become a cliche of a feminist.
All right, go on then.
I've got cats. I've got, you know how many cats live in my house at the moment?
Go on.
7.
Oh, right, okay.
It's not well. We've got a stray cat. It's the neighbour's cat, and she didn't feed it properly. So my mum's soft, so she started feeding it, and we took it in, and then we found a new home for it because we've already got 3 cats. And then the woman said, "You're gonna have to pick your cat up because she's pregnant." So we got a pregnant cat in the house, and then she had kittens. So now we've got some little kittens. So that's what I've been doing. Coming a cliche. And another cat bit my head. This is another stray that came and it bit my head, and now you can see what does my forehead look like?
You've got a little half moon scratch on it.
Yeah, that's permanent. That so, I've been becoming like that cat lady.
That cat feminist.
Yeah, that cat feminist.
I've not been up to that much. We published a few things on the website, but feminist wise, I've just been quite busy with work, but I'm in between contracts at the moment, so I'm just chilling out a bit. But we published some stuff. We've gone a little bit more the satire route recently.
Yeah, I've just I'm doing irony, giving irony a go.
But you can read any of our pieces on Make More Noise. We've launched a new comment section. We were kind of just reporting on stuff, but now we've decided to branch out into comment. So if you like it, let us know. If you have anything that you want us to cover, let us know.
Yeah, we basically, it's really hard to be factual. You have to make sure all your facts are correct. But when you do comment, you can just say what you like.
It's hard to be factual. It is hard to be factual.
No, it is, because you're like, what did they actually say? You can't really put that adjective there. That's incorrect.
And I think some prominent people in the public eye also find it hard to be factual sometimes. Also, I've found over the news cycle over the past few weeks, but we won't get too deep into that at the moment because we've got lots of juicy stuff to chat about. So am I going first or are you going first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So what has Tina Turner, Nina Simone, Rhiannon and Mariah Carey got in common?
They all have black ancestry.
Nope, they all were in abusive relationships with their managers, like manager boyfriends. So this is stirred up from Ryan Adams.
Oh yeah, right, yeah. Not to be confused with everything I do. It's not that one. It's the other one.
No, I mean I'd never even heard of him before he got in the newspapers. Had you?
I'd heard of him, but I could not name you one song. And I'd heard of him because teenage boys that I was trying to impress would always mention Ryan Adams. And I would do that thing where they go, "Oh yeah, I really love Ryan Adams' music." I just nod and go, yeah, so do I.
Yeah, no, it's my
go
favourite.
out with me. But I've no idea any of his songs, but I just know he's like a guitar-y person, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's just another bland man. I saw a picture of him. I don't know. If he was good, I would have heard of him by now.
This is true. Yeah, he'd be on my radar.
He's like a shit Ed Sheeran. But apparently he's been using his position. He's been exploiting it to get with the women's.
Quells the breeze.
And so I'm just going to have I just had a little look into the situation, and I was reminded of the Keisha case. Do you remember the Keisha case a few years ago? Free Keisha.
Do you mean Kesha?
Kesha.
She sounds like a vegan dish.
Keisha.
$ha, but now it's just Kesha.
Kesha, yeah. So she was in the news a few years ago. There was a big campaign. She was supported by Adele. Did a shout out to her when she won an award. She was donated some money by
Taylor Swift. Yeah, I remember following the case. Yeah,
she gave her £500,000 because basically she was stuck in a contract with her abuser. A guy called Dr. Luke was her producer. She filed a civil lawsuit for infliction of emotional distress and gender-based hate crimes. She basically just wanted to get out of a contract. This guy had been abusing her for years, and she wanted 3 of him. But he did a counter claim, and he sued her for defamation and breach of contract. Do you know who won? Can you guess?
I think I followed this case, so I think I know. It was Dr. Luke.
Dr. Luke, the rapist. And it's the same old story. I'm going to read you a little bit here, actually, because I thought this was really interesting. In the judge's summing up, the judge said, while Keisha's claim alleges that she was sexually, physically and verbally abused by Gottwald for a decade, she describes only 2 specific instances of physical/sexual abuse, the judge wrote. And the most recent event described was alleged to have happened in 2008, so falls outside of the statute of limitations. The judge dismissed Keisha's hate crime claim because the filings do not allege that Gottwald harboured animus towards women or was motivated by gender animus when he allegedly behaved violently towards Keisha. Every rape is not a gender-motivated hate crime. Keisha's claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress was dismissed because claims of insults about her value as an artist, her looks and her weight are insufficient to constitute extreme outrageous conduct intolerable in a civilised society. And there's a lot to unpack in that summing up there.
There's a lot to unpack.
Basically, reading between the lines, he doesn't really deny that it happened.
No.
He's used a lot of alleges, but he's basically saying, yeah, he raped you, but it wasn't a hate crime.
Is the judge not a woman? I felt like the judge was a woman, yeah.
Yeah, she.
Don't misgender the judge.
Misgendered the judge. It's not hate crime to rape a woman. I'm sorry, but every rape's a hate crime, really, isn't it? Like, it wasn't motivated by gender hatred. What was it motivated by? Lust. Especially in this situation, if you're raping somebody that you're managing, it's a control thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was trying to put her in a place, put her in her place to show her, I've got control over you. And interesting though, I did a bit of googling because I thought, what is a hate crime? In the UK, you've got protected characteristics. Yeah. So you can't actually be done for hate crime against women. Sex is not a protected characteristic under UK under hate crime law.
Yeah, but it is for the Equality Act 2010, but not hate crime. Is
not
that correct?
Hate crime legislation. Yes, it's not either in America though.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say because this case is an American one, isn't it?
It's in New York, so I believe they have it for sexuality and gender identity, but not for sex.
Right.
Which I think is just, again, it's preposterous, because if they actually looked at the amount of crimes that were committed because of hatred towards women, I think the courts would be there all day, really, wouldn't they?
Well, I wonder if they did make misogyny a hate crime. I just wonder how society would actually function, because every advert would be done for a hate crime. Pornography, that is just, it's as common as water, and it would just, everybody's phones would be ripped off them because they're committing hate crimes. Misogyny is just everywhere. I just wonder how they would ever enforce misogyny as a hate crime.
It's so ubiquitous that we don't really even see it. It's part of the fabric of society, isn't it?
I think it's... have you seen the documentary about George Michael? I think it's just called... Oh God, what is it called? The one about his life. It was on Channel 4. It was really good. But there was also a really good documentary I watched about Prince as well. But basically, those two artists went up against the gargantuan music industry because of the draconian contracts, because they found it really hard to get out of contracts. These record companies essentially own your life. And I don't believe that these contracts are written in a way that they know that it's going to adversely affect women. It's just, again, a byproduct of it. I think I've mentioned it in previous episodes that these laws and these contract laws and stuff, they happen, and I don't think people intentionally want to just do it just to screw over women, but it inevitably always ends up affecting women worse, because women already have a situation where we have less power. And then I know that Prince and George Michael fought against these draconian contracts, and then Kesha has done as well. And in Kesha's case, she was sexually assaulted by this guy. Well, she alleges. We have to say allegedly.
She does allege, but everybody agrees with that. But it is an interesting question. Is this a really like a sex-based issue, or is it more about class and money? Is it that the power of the music industry to control this product? Like I say, if it was a man in a similar situation, I'm pretty sure he'd find it just as difficult to get out of the contracts.
Yeah, and I think Prince and George Michael did. But then there's the added gender power dynamic. Yeah.
Well, it's like all these people, like Nina Simone. I don't know if I was watching a documentary about her. There's one on Netflix. Have a look if you've got it. I didn't realise that she was abused by her husband, manager, for many years. Yeah. Mariah Carey married a studio bigwig. Who coercively controlled her for many years. And it's all these people that you think, if it's happening to them, like,
And these women have money and power and stuff, but
I also think there's something in the music industry, in the, perhaps not with these people. I was reminded of the Ronettes. Have you heard of Phil Spector?
Yeah.
Do you know what he was like?
I'm gonna hazard a guess and say he wasn't very nice if you're bringing him up in this context.
He was a bit like Jimmy Savile, you know, when you hide in plain sight.
Yeah.
So he was a producer of pop bands, and he made like the Phil Spector sound. If it wasn't for him, pop music would sound totally different, like the Wall of Sound. And he brought up like girl bands, a lot of black girl bands.
Yeah.
The Ronettes, the Crystals, those bands. But basically, he was a really, really abusive, horrible man. He literally wrote a song called "He Hit Me and It Felt Like a Kiss," and everyone knew he was psycho. And then he murdered this woman, and he's in jail for murdering a woman. But he was enabled for many, many years, because I think there's this idea of like the tortured artist, which I think allows really, really, really bad behaviour. And it's something I don't know, in my day-to-day life, I've got a lot of experience with musicians, and I've got to say they're not the most how do I word this? They're arseholes, basically. Like, they are the proper dickheads, and I need to stop musicians all in all are bad news. Maybe it's just men are dickheads, but I think there's something particularly about musicians. I don't know if it's like the tortured artists. Like, what's your experience?
Well, it's interesting you say it. So I play guitar and keyboard, and I sing a bit. And so many times I've gone into music shops to try and find just other equipment leads, stuff like that, music books or whatever. And there's always you're buying this for your boyfriend, is it a birthday present or something? I've had that quite a lot of times. And my mother's a really good guitarist actually, and she went in one time, and all these young lads were serving her, and they were just like, oh, is this for your son or is this for your husband? And she just sat down and she just and picked up one of the guitars and just started playing them all into the wall, because and they just weren't expecting it.
No, I get that a lot with my DJing when I'm turn up at gigs and I'm like, oh, hello, I'm here to DJ, and they look behind me like, where's your boyfriend? And I'm like, it's me. I'm holding this big bag of records here. I've turned up at open mic nights before, and I was with my mate who's man, and this was because it was the person running it was a woman, but she came up to me and she said, oh, you guys want to play? And she said, and we both just nodded, because he was just nodding along with me because he was my mate. And then she said, oh, so are you singing and is he playing? I was like, no, I'm doing both. He can't sing or play for shit. I'm doing both today. I don't know why you said that to me. And another time, oh my god, it's all right, another time as well, I was doing a gig in this pub, like a proper old man's pub, with my mate at uni. And so this wasn't an open mic, like we'd been booked to do the gig, like, you know, just like covers, pub classics, all the grown men, like, they love it, bit of blues, bit of this, bit of that, and then at the end like a weepy one where they can cry into the pint and stuff. Love it. Anyway, at the end of it, or like in one of the breaks, this man came up to me and he goes, and this was in Scotland, so forgive the accent, but he goes, can I give you a wee bit of advice? I say, oh yeah, my back's already up. And he goes, you should do more songs by men. And I'm like, should I? Because, and I just sung some Joni Mitchell, and he loved that one actually. He was singing along to all of it. They love a bit of weepy Joni Mitchell, do men of a certain age. But you should do more songs by men. Like, it's not worth it to sing songs by women. Arsehole.
So yeah, I have experienced it, because this might be massive spoiler alert to all of our listeners, but sexism is everywhere and pervasive in every industry.
Well, I think it's interesting what you say about the woman saying it as well. Like, it's something we imbue in our own heads, and women can be as guilty of sexism as men can. And I'm sure I've done it in the past, where you assume that if somebody's a DJ or a musician, that they're going to be a man.
Yeah, I think I've done the thing as well, and I'm a bit ashamed to admit it. If I go to an open mic night and there's another woman there, and I don't do this anymore, But it's like before I became a proper feminist, you just feel like you're playing this game and you don't, like, you're constantly in competition with other women.
I'm better than her. Yeah, I won open mic. And you're not actually comparing yourself to the rest of the of the people there. That's my bitch.
It's just because women are so few and far between. So when I see another one, you just can't help but think there's a competition, even though I know there's not, and you're not playing a game. But and I'm ashamed to admit there would be times, but now I'm very much kind of changed my whole thinking, changed all of this. But yeah, there is an element of like, oh, she's not better than me.
Yeah.
I hope she's not prettier than me, even though it doesn't matter, but I still thought it.
Yeah, well, She could be play better than you, but if she's prettier than you, you're going to have a problem there, right?
She could be one or the other. If she's prettier than me, but she's not as good as playing at me, like, I can live with that, and vice versa. But yeah, but now, if I go to an open mic gig and there's like some young girl who's just incredible and gorgeous, I just feel like, oh my God, here's another incredible woman artist. But I'm ashamed to admit, I used to feel that.
It's okay, it's a safe space.
Growth,
safe space.
Personal growth.
What do you want to talk about? What's your topic?
Well, you might have read an article that's been doing the rounds. It's called How Marie Kondo Helped Me Discover My Gender, or words to that effect.
Okay. I think I hate this article already.
Well, and I wrote a piece in response to it about my thoughts. So this woman basically, she can't get a husband to tidy up, so she Marie Kondos her place.
Who's Marie Kondo?
So Marie Kondo is a Japanese lady. She's from the Shinto religion, actually, and she has this philosophy of tidying, and some of her philosophy actually comes from ancient Shinto beliefs. That, you know, well, you can read up about it. I'll post a link. It's really quite interesting. Anyway, the whole thing, and you might have heard of this, is when you're clearing out your place, when you're trying to decide what to keep and what to discard, you hold on to it and you ask if it sparks joy. Now, I Marie Kondo'd my wardrobe a couple of years ago, and you know, I didn't use it as a hard and fast rule. It was more of a general philosophy I was applying, because, you know, not everything brings you joy that you need to keep.
No, you need your shirts, don't you?
Yeah.
And your vests and your
exactly.
shit knickers.
Yeah. But so this woman, Marie Kondo'd her place. She couldn't get her husband to tidy up. She bought this book, Marie Kondo'd her place, and realised that she was getting rid of all of her stereotypically feminine clothes. And as she was exploring this a bit more, she realised that she didn't feel female, she felt non-binary. Now, I have a couple of thoughts on that, but we're not going to talk about that today. That's that's an hour-long podcast with, you know, loads of other input and opinions. But ultimately, at the end of the article, there's still that same heterosexual gendered power dynamic. She's still doing most of the tidying. And I just wanted to talk about this heterosexual gendered power dynamics in straight relationships.
Yeah.
So I've got some facts and stats, because basically in the UK there is still a really bad gendered power dynamic amongst heterosexual couples, and women still do most of the unpaid work, especially between the ages of 26 and 35. Now, this is from an Office of National Statistics report from November 2016. So men on average do 16 hours of unpaid work a week.
Yeah.
Women do on average 26 unpaid hours.
Yeah, not surprised there.
But that's just on average. That's just the average woman. In this time frame of the most, that women aged 26 to 35 years old.
So that's our demographic.
That is. How many hours do you think they did of unpaid labour a week?
40.
Close, 34.
Oh.
It's a full-time job there.
Yeah, that is a full-time job.
And most women 26 to 35 probably are working. But also, what else do you think women are doing in this demographic? If you're 26 to 35, what are you likely to be doing?
Raising a child,
having kids. Yeah. And women who are on maternity leave, guess how many hours a week they do?
50.
60.
Fucking hell.
I know. And so this is across a different range of what we deem to be unpaid work, like cooking, cleaning, washing, transport and stuff like that. And women do more than men in almost all aspects. Apart from transport, men are more likely to be taxi.
Yeah, well, that's the dad job, isn't it? Like, take the bin out.
Yeah.
Take you to your
dance class or whatever. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, and by interesting I mean completely expected and not surprising at all. But I wonder if there is a way to address this. Can we change it? Is it the way things are? Oh, interestingly, the Office of National Statistics calculated that it's worth about £259 a week for women on average, and about £166 a week for men on average.
Okay.
Can we solve this? Do you have any solutions?
You could get a cleaner.
I could.
I think there's a thing about not getting a cleaner. Like, I don't know if it's a class thing. Is it a class thing, or is it a woman thing that would stop you getting a cleaner?
Well, I think it's both for me. I would feel class guilt about that.
Yeah, well, you know, like, make
and
good
also,
money.
like, I can clean up my own stuff. I would feel like I should be able to pick up my own shit, but at the same time, it would just be so convenient to have a cleaner.
Well, that's the solution. I mean, like, you can manage your boyfriend to do the cleaning and tidying, but then you just end up nagging somebody, and that's actually part of the role, isn't it? Is being the household manager. It's not necessarily. I think there's something that's not really talked about there. Is although you might have equal hours of cleaning, who is actually making the cleaning rota, who's writing down the jobs, who's assigning the roles, because that's another job all in itself, isn't it? Making somebody else do their jobs. It's not your job to manage a grown-up, is it?
You're so right, it is. It's that emotional labour, I think I've heard it called as well, but just that unpaid, being the manager, having to remind somebody to, you know, take the washing out.
Got to be the grown-up, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like, I get to be the fun kid, and like, you just come and nag me and like tell me off for like wearing my socks on the like dinner table.
Do you mean like shoes on the sofa?
Yeah, like something like that. Like, I don't do that. I don't put my sweaty feet on the dinner table or anything.
But yeah, it's you're managing another person, really. I also thought it was interesting that marriages between men and women are the lowest they've ever been on record at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, marriages are the lowest.
I'm not surprised, to be honest.
I know more people cohabit before getting married and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Well, there's an interesting statistic. Have you heard? If you look at the life expectancy or the health outcomes of a married couple,
oh yeah,
men in a relationship, they get a lot healthier and they live longer.
Yeah.
Women in a relationship, they actually get unhealthier and lose like years of their life. Yeah. So basically,
single women live forever.
Don't date men. Don't date men.
Oh, that's so sexy though, but don't date them.
Don't date them. Just like Tinder.
But
I don't think you can escape it though. I think even if you're not in a relationship, if you're in a wider family, you've not got any nieces and nephews, have you?
No.
See, I've got loads of nieces and nephews, and I'm still in a wider family network within which my labour is appropriated and kind of invisible. My brother's looking after his little girl. He's got like sole custody of her, and I'm kind of expected to look after her quite a lot. He works full time, and I don't mind it because I do love her, but I'm an auntie. I'm not a parent. I didn't choose to have a child, and I don't mind doing it, but it's not even. It's almost invisible what I do. You know, it's expected, and if I don't, then I get guilt for it. You know, and I'm not doing it. I'm not being a proper woman, and I can see a lot of like the theory they write about female labour being appropriated and all the theories behind the domestic sphere. When I read it, I'm like, God, that is actually happening in our family, and I wouldn't say it's, you know, like quite left wing, quite lefty, you know, like brought up in a single parent family. But still
happens.
Still happening.
And I notice amongst leftist men, we were talking about class guilt hiring a cleaner just now, but there's a lot of leftist men who would maybe say that and you know, say that you shouldn't hire domestic staff and stuff, but they would conveniently, all these great male thinkers, but they would conveniently forget all the unpaid hours that the wives of all these great leftist thinkers are doing. You know, can't hire a cleaner, but you'll just still let your wife pick up after you.
No, it's really funny. I was reading the autobiography of Simone de Beauvoir, and she literally just writes about cleaning Sartre's socks.
Oh right, do you mean Simone de Beauvoir?
So that's Simone de Beauvoir. Yeah, she went out with Sartre. They were like going out for ages, and I was reading an autobiography, and there was literally pages where she just talks about like doing the housework.
Yeah, I read like one of the Russian. Oh my God, I just read the other day one of those Russian authors. It was Tolstoy or Dostoevsky on one of them. He pretty much ripped off his wife's diaries.
Really?
I'll have to find that. I'll post a link. But I think one of the ways that we could alleviate this unpaid labour is universal basic income. I actually think that we should be doing this, and that it would give mothers, like single mothers, wouldn't have to worry as much about working 3 jobs, and it would mean that, you know, that also people that are caring for family members wouldn't have to worry about benefit and this and this and that, and, you know, the horrible sanctions that we get under austerity. That if you had a universal basic income, you could put back into the community. People wouldn't be worrying about living hand to mouth. It would make looking after our elderly a lot easier if we had universal basic income, because then we wouldn't have to worry about having a job to get a wage or whatever. Like we could, if we had universal basic income, we wouldn't be shoving off our elderly to homes the way we do all the time, because it would give communities the capacity to look after more people in their community if they don't have to worry about going out for a job.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
But there's also, so Iceland had quite an ingenious solution to this.
Sex strike!
Back in 1975. So on the 25th of October 1975, about 90% of Iceland's women, and this is a small country, they've only got about 500,000, 600,000 people, but 90% of women went on strike, and it was to protest indispensable work that they did at home, the work of women for the economy and society, and it was to protest wage discrepancy and unfair employment practices. And they refused to work or look after children, and the media were covering it, the country media, and they were doing stuff like calling up on the radio and calling up like houses or whoever put themselves forward, and all these men were answering the phone because the women were out taking to the streets. About 25,000 women took to the street to march as well. And 5 years later, and I found this really interesting because I didn't know about this, 5 years later, in 1980, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Vigdis Finnbogadóttir was the first European female president. And I know we had Maggie Thatcher in 1979.
I didn't know that she was the first.
But Maggie Thatcher's a prime minister.
And a dickhead. Sorry.
That's on her epitaph, is it? Prime Minister and dickhead. But yeah, so she was the first European female president. She's also the first woman in the world to be democratically elected as head of state. Because Maggie Thatcher was democratically elected.
No, she's not the head of state.
She is not the head of state.
Well, technically, then we've got the Queen. She's not elected.
Not democratically elected.
She's born that way.
Yeah. I've got other thoughts on that, but we'll get to that another time. But yeah, so she was the first democratically elected female head of state.
Did you know Iceland had the first gay head of state?
There might have been others, but openly.
Yeah, it was a lesbian elected. Like back in the day, because Iceland are just like ahead of the curve, aren't they?
Yeah.
I was Googling that. I was like, have there ever been any gay heads of state? And I Googled it, and there's 5, and Iceland is one of them. Well, the first.
James, oh God, is it James the 1st and 6th? I could be getting this wrong. One of our kings, one of our stewards, he was like,
massive gay, wasn't he?
Massive gay, and like he kept promoting his boyfriend to like, and his boyfriend became Chancellor of the Exchequer. Then he did a runner with all this money, and then he came back and he gave his boyfriend another job in the court. I'll post a link to that as well. I'm probably misrepresenting the story, but like
we've got quite a lot of gay heads of state, like gay favourites. They didn't really care as long as you had an heir.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah,
like, as long as you've got like another one.
This is it.
They don't really mind, do they?
But yeah. So maybe that's what we need, a little bit of a strike, a women's strike.
I think that's a really good idea, because I do think that a lot of what we do is not appreciated, it's not valued, it's not seen. And I think men are getting better. We've got to give it to them. Like a few years ago, they weren't expected to do anything around the house. And I think it's especially hard for working women, because working women have always worked, you know. I think there's an idea like the middle class housewife, you could just stay at home and didn't have to work. But I think working women have always been out and having to work as well as doing all the domestic labour.
Yeah, because it was like a right that middle class women were fighting for, was the right to go out to work and have a job, whereas working women have always had to work.
Yeah, since like forever. Yeah. So, do you know what I'd really like to say? I'd really like to know what the class breakdown of those statistics were. In terms of, you know, is it a class issue? Are working women doing more clean? I'd imagine if I had the money, I'd get a cleaner. I don't care. I'm not going to get guilty about it. Just have somebody to clean. Not all, you know, not like live in, but like comes once a week, does the kitchen and the bathrooms. Yeah. The jobs you don't want to do. You know, like do your skirting boards and things? Because
Yeah.
I like to think like I can look after my own house, but how often do you dust? How often do you get on the top of your bookshelf and like dust?
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Around the top of the door frame and stuff you don't think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why you need a cleaner.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, like, and in places like London, you know, when you're in a big house share, it just makes so much sense to get a cleaner, because if you were getting a cleaner, who do you think the labour would fall to in that big house share with quasi strangers?
Yeah.
It would probably be falling to the women. But yeah, if you have any thoughts or any further reading on this, do let us know on the heterosexual relationship dynamics and the unpaid labour of women. And I think that's what I found so depressing about that Marie Kondo helped me realise I was non-binary piece, that at the end of it she was still tidying up after him, and like she got an undercut and wore a flannel shirt, and it's like she'd taken the dissatisfaction more generally with how she felt as a woman and decided that the problem was with the label woman.
Yeah, and with yourself, not with the wider society, isn't it? It's like that. I'm going to call it neoliberalism. I blame everything on neoliberalism, but the idea is that if you don't feel good, it's because you're broken, and it's not the society that's broken.
Yeah.
You've got to change yourself and not look wider at what's broken in society, and then change society.
Yeah, good way to end. If you have any other further reading on sexism in the music industry, if you have any little stories, share with us. As somebody said something that's pissed you off in the music industry, let us know. We'll tweet it out. We're Make More Noise 1 on Twitter, or make.more.noise.mank@gmail.com.
Rolling off the tongue there. So, what day is it today?
It is, if I've managed to edit it in time and get it out, it's International Women's Day.
Woo! What are you up to on International Women's Day?
No idea at the moment. In the future, that is also the present when you're hearing this podcast. No, I don't know. I think I'll probably wear suffragette colours, because I like to do that.
Yeah.
I'll probably see. It depends if I'm working or not, but I'd like to see if I can go to a couple of events if some things are happening in Manchester, or over the weekend if there's some stuff happening over the weekend as well. What are you up to on International Women's Day?
I'm reminding you of what we are up to on International Women's Day.
But we're doing it the day after International Women's Day.
Oh yeah, we are actually. So, I don't know what day it is. Saturday.
Yeah.
No, International Women's Day. I'm gonna get my hair done purple.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. But it's always purple, but I'm gonna get it done so it's like
Violet for V for Violet, V for
Violet.
votes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Cool.
Do you know why I'm getting my hair done?
Why are you getting your hair done?
What are we doing on the Saturday?
We are speaking at the Mary Quayle Society talk for International Women's Day. There's a few really cool people there.
Yeah.
And we're the only cool people there. No, there's other cool people there. But we're going to be speaking about Make More Noise as well, and about kind of the fourth wave feminism, young feminists, what we're up to.
How we got together, how we run the magazine.
Yeah.
Using the internet and technologies and things like that.
Yeah, so if you are around, it's at Friends Meeting House. It starts at about 2:30, I believe.
Yep.
And yeah, we'd love to see some people there. Is it ticketed?
I believe so. We'll put a link in the description of the podcast. It's the Mary Quayle Club. If you Google it, there's a blog, Lipstick Socialist, and you can find a ticket. But I think if you go along, there'll be spaces.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There'll be spaces. We'll put a link in the description.
For sure, it'd be great to see some of you Manchester listeners, all three of you, Mum, and Auntie Jean, come along. But no, if you are listening and you are in the Northwest, do come along, and let us know if there's anything else going on over the weekend or over the next few days. Let us know. We can tweet it out. But yeah, so it'd be good to hear from you. So we come to our final section. So we started doing this week to week. So for those who haven't heard the previous episodes, what is this card game and how did you come by it, DJ Lippy?
I won a quiz. There was like a feminist quiz at Christmas, and I won because I'm really good at knowing all of the gay characters in EastEnders. That was literally a question. And I won. I took home the Women That Dare cards. It's just literally about 50 brilliant women from the labour movement, from entertainment, showbiz, etc.
Yeah, so we've been doing a little shuffle and picking one at random each week. So this week it's my turn, and I just by pure chance got Frida Kahlo. So some of you may have already heard from her, but this is what it says. So she's Mexican, 1907 to 1954. Mexican painter Frida Kahlo transformed a debilitating accident at age 15 and the chronic pain that dogged her afterwards into a unique powerful language of expression that won her international acclaim. Her plans for a medical career derailed, Kahlo began painting during her convalescence and eventually attracted the notice of a muralist, Diego Rivera, whom she married in 1928 and with whom she moved in the artistic and social avant-garde circles of the day. Described as a surrealist, Kahlo insisted that she painted her own reality. Her works are infused with the struggle and power of women. So that's Frida Kahlo. You can search a little bit more about her. She's a cool lady.
Yeah, she had Trotsky as well, didn't she?
I think she did, and she had relationships with women too, I believe. Yeah. Cool lady. So, give her a Google. If you have anything else that you'd like us to cover on the podcast, we do like 2 subjects a week, and then just like bits and pieces, what's coming up and things like that. Let us know. If you have any suggestions, do let us know. Give us a share if you like what you hear.
Yeah, retweet if you're on Twitter. I got my account taken off me. Not that I'm bitter, but it's finding it really difficult to get out there and out and about with my lack of like access to civil society. So if you liked it, give us a little retweet on Twitter.
Yeah. I think that's it from us for Suffragette City Radio. Tune in next time, and we can carry on the conversation. That's what we're about, starting conversation, shining a light on some of the feminist issues that might be affecting us today.
We'll see you in a week. Not in a week.
In a month. You could do one next week if you want. Yeah, we could do like the little DJ Lippy vignettes, little 5-minute solo bits. You can just chat about your cats. Watch.
I'll give you an update on my kittens.
Cat watch with DJ Lippy. Right, great. Hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care.